Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. This is Dr. Alabash. I've also been known as Dr. Abbas among my colleagues, friends, and even my students. I'm a senior lecturer at the School of Languages, Literacies and Translation, University Science, Malaysia. So, how your teaching, learning, and assessment activities are going online. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, teaching and learning have now shifted online. So some are enjoying it, and at the same time, some are figuring out many things because they are totally unfamiliar. They are totally new to this new platform, which is online. So I hope things are going well on your end. I also watched a lot of videos online recently. Many individuals whom I would call as good Samaritans, they have created content and shared online for the benefit of others out there. So on my part, I'm here to share with you guys something related to my area of specialization, which is language assessment. What is an assessment? To my understanding, assessment cannot be looked at or discussed in isolation. And the reason is there are three fundamental elements within any education system or even at any education level, be it school or higher learning institutions. These three fundamental elements always come into play. And in this brief video, this is what I intend to share with you guys. So what are the three components? Number one is curriculum, number two is instruction, and number three is assessment. And ideally, there should be a positive relationship, or I would say a harmonious relationship among these three components if we want our education system to be successful. So I'm going to go through one by one, trying to explain to you what each of these components means and in what way they need to have a positive or harmonious relationship. So hopefully by end of this video, you are able to understand each of these components and you are able to see the positive relationship that ideally they should have. Number one is curriculum. What is a curriculum? Curriculum is usually in the form of a document, and it spells out the details or the list of expected outcomes within a course or a subject matter. It is this document that says or explains to the teachers, teaching staff, what should be happening in the classrooms. Okay, so that is a curriculum. A lot of things have been said by scholars about curriculum. Some have done doctoral dissertations about curriculum. So this video, I do not intend to go into the details of what is a curriculum, in what ways they are implemented and so on. Okay, so that's the first component. I hope you understand. Moving on to the next component, which is instruction. When I say instruction, it's a bit tricky here because instruction, automatically what crosses our mind is teaching. But the element of learning also tags along teaching. The simple logic is there is no teaching without learning, and there is no learning without teaching. There is always some teaching behind every learning, and there is always some learning behind every teaching. That's the simple logic. And therefore, when you talk about instruction, this is you should always think about both teaching and learning. Okay, and it happens in the classrooms, be it traditional face-to-face or online. Okay, next component, the most important component is assessment. What is the definition of assessment? Scholars have defined the term assessment in different ways, but when we synthesize all these definitions given by scholars, my understanding is assessment is an instrument which you use to measure students or learners' ability or in a subject matter or in a course. Okay, so as I said earlier, these three components need to have a positive or harmonious relationship. In what way? In other words, we need to look at what is actually the link between each of these components or among themselves. For that, I'm going to link one with another, and I will finally talk about the overall relationship that I have been talking about in this video. Let's first look at the relationship between assessment and curriculum. What is the relationship between assessment and curriculum? As I mentioned earlier, in the curriculum, you can see a list of expected outcomes. We can see what is actually expected in this course, what the students are expected to achieve, what kind of learning is supposed to take place. Things like that are spelled out in the curriculum. And when it comes to the assessment, it is the assessment that shows whether what has been listed down in the curriculum is achieved or not. Okay, so the answer for whether you have achieved the course objectives, expected outcomes, or in other terms are used by scholars, it is the assessment that answers that question. Okay, so now let's look at the relationship between assessment and instruction. Okay, when I talk about instruction, since it's in between curriculum and assessment, so it has a relationship between both curriculum and assessment. I think I want to focus on the relationship between instruction and curriculum first. So the relationship is teachers teach their students. In teaching their students, how do they know what is the content that needs to be covered, that needs to be taught to their students? So obviously the content comes from the curriculum, right? So the what's, mostly the what's in the classrooms are answered by the curriculum. Now we come to how. How do I assess, or how do I know whether my students learned what I have taught or not? So that is when the assessment comes in. A teacher can know whether his or her teaching is effective or not by employing or by using the assessment to see how effective or ineffective his or her teaching is. Some of us, or maybe all of us, may be aware of two assessment terms which are very common these days. Okay, formative and summative. It is by using these two assessment components that teachers or lecturers at higher learning institutions, they know how effective their teaching is or ineffective their teaching is. How do we use it? At what point we use summative? At what point we use some informative? These questions, these are the things that I will be discussing in the upcoming videos in my channel. Okay, so I think I hope you are now able to see the relationship between these three components. Let's also bring up some questions, because as an assessment person, I have been asked questions like, Dr. Abbas, what do I teach my students? Do I teach what is tested? Or in my classroom test, do I test what I teach them? I do not know how much familiar you guys are with such questions. I frequently get asked these questions. Okay, there are also other issues or other things which are mentioned, which are asked. For example, what is a test? What is an assessment? What is a quiz? Are they the same? For example, examination, assessment, and other terms they use. They ask what is the similarity. They do share some similarities, but they are different. Okay, so these are the issues that I will be discussing in the upcoming videos. Okay, so the components, curriculum, people have studied curriculum. There are individuals who have done doctoral dissertation in curriculum. People have done doctoral dissertation and carried out various studies about instruction. For example, you can ask, okay, you talked about curriculum. What does it mean by syllabus then? Yeah, syllabus is an extraction of curriculum. We will discuss it later. What about teaching method? You talked about instruction. What do you know anything about communicative teaching method? Do you know anything about grammar translation teaching method? Yes, it comes under the instruction. Again, we'll discuss it in the upcoming videos. Finally, assessment. As I mentioned, various things are asked, various things are mentioned about assessment. And mostly, as an assessment person, I can guarantee most of them are myths. MYTHS, myths. Okay, so I will try my level best from my understanding to demystify all these myths by posting it in my videos. So that's all for this video. And finally, please do not forget to subscribe my YouTube channel and stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you.